We were running through his contract record. We saw that he opened a blog and spent some significant time reading that blog on charitable giving. And I'm like, okay, have you ever talked to Dave about charitable giving? He goes, no, Dave's not interested in that. I'm like, well, the data shows that he is.
Wow.
And sure enough, a couple days later, that advisor called me back and goes, I'm just expanding my business with that client that you shared with me because now we're talking about charitable giving. And we're expanding his portfolio into ways that he can mitigate taxes through charitable giving strategies.
Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa, brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners. It's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and a direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. And now, welcome to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. This is Brian Lutz, Chief Marketing Officer for Elite Consulting Partners, and I'm with my favorite partner, Miss Sue Cheema, Chief Information Officer of Elite Consulting Partners. I am very excited today because when this podcast goes out on Saturday, it will be the start of the college football season, time that is like Christmas for me, and I can't get it enough. For those of you who may know, you've heard Stacey talk a lot about pickleball and her obsession there.
Yes.
My obsession lies with my beloved Georgia Bulldogs.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, listen, I love the fact that we're not starting at the top of the polls. We do better as an underdog. Mm-hmm. We're going to be there at the dance at the end of the year. I feel really good about it.
And by the way, my obsession is CRMs. So,
well, that's great because that's what we're here to talk about today. We're not here to talk about college football. And I'm actually very excited. There's probably very little that I'm going to contribute to this podcast because we need an expert here, and that's you. I am no expert as it relates to CRM.
But you asked the great questions. So
I do my best.
You do. I mean, you do great.
Because I have an education from one of the greatest universities in the land. Go Dogs. But we're going to get in here. We're going to talk about the future of CRM solutions. Specifically, turn your podcast mic into a crystal ball, look deeply into it, and deliver the audience insights of what 5 years from now our CRM solution will look like. And to go forward, let's go backwards.
Yeah.
So as we talk about the evolution of the CRM in the next 5 years, one of the things that I know that we often talk about a lot is that databases that advisors are working in today are often static, and we're moving towards more intelligent and proactive systems, something that I know that you're building for a lot of our advisor clients. Talk to us a little bit about what is a static database and how are we moving towards a more intelligent database?
I love this question. And can I start with a tiny story?
Please.
Because I think it'll lend us right into the future of CRM, as I've heard a lot of people who I consider amazingly smart and insightful, and has led my own thinking to be biased towards that way. So we all hear the buzzword, right? Artificial intelligence. We know that in some way or form, it's going to integrate into databases and businesses and their processes. What's unclear is how, when, where, all the details, right? So we have talked about, I was on an artificial intelligence panel, and there are these huge icons in the field, and they're talking about, at the end of 5 years, where I see CRMs and where a lot of people who are in the industry see CRMs as agents talking to agents. Today, what we can do with CRMs is automate repetitive tasks, right? Like based on either an action a person takes mindfully or not, or whether a system takes mindfully or not. And we can say, oh, this happened, let's do this, or that happened, let's do this. Whereas agents wouldn't need to be taught that. They would just know and could have intelligence to create scenarios where we haven't defined for them. And on the other end, there would be another agent receiving all this information, a contract, a proposal, a database, all the insights, processing it, sending it to another agent, doing another thing, right? So that's where I see all kind of this wrapping up. And if you think about it that way, the way we see computers today are not going to be existing, right? Because they're going to become like these. And I know this sounds so futuristic.
I don't think we're that far off. Keep going.
But you need better processing powers, right? You need different gadgets to be able to deliver on that processing power. And I think the entire landscape is about getting to the edge where it's going to totally shift, and it's going to be exciting.
Well, let's just use an example that happened to you and I just 10 minutes ago. Sue and I work in a different office. It's probably 3 miles down the road. And as we were preparing to leave, we happened to look out the window, very old school, and see a line of traffic waiting at a red light. And I said, Sue, it's going to take us forever to get there.
Right.
And of course, Sue Cheema, their chief information officer, pulls up her GPS and goes, I found an alternative route, taking credit for the AI solution, Google Maps, that delivered us here in 3 minutes.
Oh, wow. See, I mean, that's exactly... I mean, there was a human element where a human picked up the phone and said, wait, in the future, 5 years down the road, right? Like, okay, we look at it, but somebody just speaks to you like, oh, you don't have to take this route, right? Maybe it's...
Take me to destination.
Right. And that's it.
The car begins moving.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we're that far off. I mean, you look at what's happening with Uber and Waymo. I mean, driverless cars are a thing now. They're in multiple cities where you enter your destination into a map, you get into a car, and then you go. Like, I've gotten to one, and it's pretty wild. I had a great experience. I was in Scottsdale, and it was awesome.
Oh, my
But
God.
they're in Philadelphia now.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm driving in today, and we're going on a tiny bit of a tangent because I look at artificial intelligence as something that's going to create so much abundance and so much insights, and it's going to it's going to solve so many problems. At the same time, I approach it cautiously because we just don't know enough about it and how it's going to be delivered by humans to other humans at the moment.
Right.
And so I'm listening to this podcast which is talking about AI psychosis. Have you heard this term?
No, I have not.
So
I'm excited because you're laughing about it.
Well, no, it's kind of scary because apparently people are getting so obsessively engaged with some of these AIs. They're having like 14-hour conversations with them and fall in love.
Well, that was a movie with Joaquin Phoenix, right? Her? Yeah, fell in love with his AI agent.
And
Scarlett Johansson.
got married.
Yeah, they got married.
Yeah, there's actually a woman I was hearing in the news the other day who literally got married to an AI agent as a test because she's on
As a task?
As a test. And she's like, it's she wanted to see if there is, I guess she's had some failed relationships, and she wanted to see if AI is going to solve that.
Wow. All right, so
Back to
you and
CRMs.
I will have to. You and I will have to dig into that a little bit later because I'm wildly curious. But bringing it back to CRMs as the central hub for integrating all of the advisor tools.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit, and we have talked in the past about personalization and client experience.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about marrying your CRM, but
Maybe.
as we start talking about personalization,
Yeah.
one of the things that I initially asked you about static databases versus intelligent databases, you had talked about different notifications and different email templates. Like, dig into that a little bit. Like, what are the use cases that exist today, and then how can we improve on those moving forward?
So I think one of the use cases that I love a lot is we often have transcripts now to calls. You could create a parsed merge field on an object. Let's use Salesforce as a CRM. Then create a marketing email notification directly to your clients, whereby if you're integrating from, let's say, a performance reporting platform, right, you're able to then say that this security or this portfolio went up or down X%, right? Very personalized information. So now you have a person's preferred name. Hi, Brian. Their last conversation, right? Which is, how was your vacation, right? Or if you're having a baby, if you're changing your jobs, or if you're whatever that life event is happening,
Right.
You can grasp that from a transcript. And then you can, through integration, make it relevant about their specific portfolio, and then have a template in the center. So that's like hyper personalized, but it also kind of incorporates everything that we talk about, which is data integrity, data integration, personalization, customization, automation, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah. I love that. I was sitting in an advisor's office the other day, and we were talking about the differences between static databases and intelligent databases. And he was like, well, give me an example. And I kid you not, on his desk is a Rolodex. I haven't seen one of those in like 30 years. And I point to it and I said, that right there, that's a static Rolodex.
Right.
That Rolodex, you're going to have names of your clients on there. You may have some client information on there. But I guarantee you, one of those cards is going to pop out of your Rolodex and say, hey, Sue, it's Jack's birthday today. You should send him an email, wish him a happy birthday. But what an intelligent database will do is when you sit down and you open up your computer, when you start your day, you're going to see that an email already went out to your client wishing him a happy birthday, and it was sent on your behalf because his birthday was in your client notes.
I mean, you explained it so much better than I did.
No, I think those are two very different examples, but it was just one of those things where he was so set in his old school ways. And we were talking about, I used the example of Jack, and that was the name that he had relayed to me. But I was like, what if you've gotten busy that day? That client's not going to get an email from you. And the intelligent database email that goes out, it sounds like you. It speaks like you because it's learned from your communication, but it's also a template that you've already approved.
We have a client that does handwritten birthday cards for their clients, and it sounds so noble, and I love that idea. Yet they start prepping for those birthday cards a month out. They're spending resources, time and effort on creating and mailing these birthday cards. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure, and this is not a general statement, I'm not sure if the value is received to the extent, if you're a FA, if you're a financial advisor and you get a client's portfolio up X% or get them closer to their goals and never send them a birthday card, and I'm not proposing that, but if you never do, or send them electronic birthday cards, right? But you're like rocking it with their portfolio, would they leave you? But if you switch the roles around, meaning you're completely damaging their portfolio, you don't know how to manage their money, but send them handwritten cards, which one would you opt for?
Yeah, I want my portfolio to do well.
So then, is the value in generating value for the client, or is the value in generating tasks for your resources?
Right.
I don't know. I mean,
it's a great practice management question, right? What is your time worth, and how are you seeing, or how are you calculating your return on your time?
Right. And are you generating enough value for the client to ultimately, right? If A equals to B, B equals to C, then A equals to C.
Right.
Right. Ultimately, if I'm working with a financial advisor who's, adding value for an ultra high, I can't put my words back together today. It is late in the evening. It is like, if So I'm essentially indirectly working with that ultra high net worth client. So to me, I have the responsibility of making sure their systems and processes are well equipped to cater to that kind of demand and understanding that demand. So yeah, I mean, I take that personally to be able to support them in that way.
You know, we were talking about intelligent databases and you were speaking about a high net worth audience. And it made me think about a webinar that we did just recently where we were walking through an example with an advisor who deals with very high net worth clients. Thank you. And we were talking about and reviewing the activity that he's able to see in his contract record, right? Where they open this email or they view this blog on their website. And we were talking about this client. It was like, okay, you know, this is Dave and we're running through a succession plan. You know, he's looking to sell his business in about 7 years. You know, his heirs are not interested in taking over the family business. So he's going to look for an exit strategy here. And as we were running through his contract record, we saw that he opened a blog and spent some significant time reading that blog on charitable giving. And I'm like, okay, have you ever talked to Dave about charitable giving? He goes, no, Dave's not interested in that. I'm like, well, the data shows that he is.
Wow.
And sure enough, a couple days later, that advisor called me back and goes, I've just expanded my business with that client that you shared with me because now we're talking about charitable giving. And we're expanding his portfolio into ways that he can mitigate taxes through charitable giving strategies. He's like, I never would have known that he'd been interested in that because he never brought that up. He didn't know what he didn't know. But because he clicked on something and that information was being tracked within the CRM solution, it presented a new opportunity for a cross-sell.
This actually brings me back to the Barron's article that we did a couple of weeks ago, right?
That's right, yeah.
It's kind of that holistic, integrated, insightful approach to servicing your clients instead of here are the taxes, here is your birthday notification, here is this and here's that. If you pull it all together, it really makes it so much more human because it all adds together. And I love that.
Well, so going back to what we were talking about with placing a value on an advisor's time, right? Things that we think about as it relates to intelligent CRM solutions where they're saving an advisor time from doing manual tasks. They're identifying and reducing redundancies. They're completing very manual tasks on behalf of the advisor. I know that you've done a number of these things and you do these audits all the time for advisors. What are some of those automations that create efficiencies within practice management as a whole, whether it be with compliance or with operations or with outreach? Just walk us through a couple case studies.
So one thing I love to do with a lot of our clients and haven't had the opportunity recently is understanding data flow. I think it's really insightful when you actually sit down with the operations team and kind of really draft out a chart of the first moment you get an unqualified lead and you enter their phone number, their name, and email address. And where does those data points kind of grow and like everything they touch thereafter, right? When it becomes a qualified lead, when it becomes a prospect, when it becomes a client, and now you're grasping a lot more information, right? But then it dissipates and dismangles a little bit, right? Because then you're like, oh, the custodian data is here, the social security, their addresses. We only go to the custodial data for more accurate information because CRM is not connected. We don't have the time. So then you're like, okay, if data is created here and pushed here, but then this becomes the reality, the true source of truth for this client, let's pull it back, push it back into where it all started, and then really create a holistic analytics about how long did it take you to make this person, like what was the cost of acquisition for this client? And if your margin today, if you're really making $100,000 out of this client, is it really $100,000 or did you actually spend $2,000 in getting this client in the door and then your margin just dropped 20%, right? So just like that kind of insights, I think you only get when you think a little bit deeper and understand, like take a step back and understand what you're doing with what, and then pull it all together in one place.
Right. No, I think that that's an incredible example because so many advisors are like, oh, I grow my business through referrals, right? Well, that's great. Maybe we'll look at referrals as a zero advertising cost.
Which is fair. Sorry.
No, you're right. But okay, when you meet that client for the first time, are they coming into the office? Are you going out to a steak dinner? Are you on the golf course? Is that golf course Trump National?
Exactly.
Are you chartering a boat to take this person and their family out onto the lake?
Yeah.
All of these costs, to your point, will add up to costs per acquisition. And what a lot of advisors are really interested in learning now is when these referral sources come in, how quickly do they close? How often do they close? How much money am I spending to close this as a client? I think that information is wildly fascinating and not enough people are looking at it.
I had a prospect call and the advisor is like, I don't like to do the paperwork. All I want to do is be on a golf course and get prospects and leads. And I'm like, great. Mobile device. All you need to do, and if you have a Salesforce app on your phone,
Is it?
Brian Lutz, met with him, create a task for Friday.
Right.
Done.
Yeah.
Right. So it's so accessible, it's so modern, it's so much cheaper than where we started 10 years ago, right? It's just, to me, it's like, why not embrace the reality of technology today than having to be pushed into a disruptive reality 5-10 years from now where you're like, oh shoot, I missed my mark.
Right.
And there's a cost to it.
Yeah. And plus, don't think that those golf memberships aren't written off as acquisition costs. Those are business expenses. I don't know enough to be talking intelligently about that, but I know that I have a few friends out there that are like, yeah, come out and golf. We'll talk a little bit about your portfolio, and then 17 holes, we'll have a lot of fun.
And you're losing your day's work. Maybe some
don't tell
are.
my boss. We'll edit that out, thanks. But Sue, there's a news headline came across both of our desks today about a data breach.
Yes.
And I know that is something that will often keep a lot of advisors up, specifically those that own their own practice.
Yeah.
How can they sleep well at night knowing that their data is secure? I guess is kind of where we want to start this conversation, because there's nothing anyone can do to promise safety or security, but what are some of the things that they can do to kind of be more proactive and make it harder for bad actors to access their information?
So I read that article, and my first thought, first of all, I get really sick to my stomach because that's a fear I have every single time when I'm working with advisors. Like, you take it so seriously because there's a lot of information. And the second thought I had is, did they have two-factor authentication? Did they have encryption for PII information like social security or date of birth or mother's maiden, like whatever that is? And these are I don't want to call them simple steps, but these are simple steps that you could take, I take for all my clients to keep their information secure so I can sleep well at night. Right? Not sharing your passwords, not having simple passwords, creating strong enough passwords, right? And that's step one. And definitely having multi-factor authentication. Salesforce makes it easy because they have their app. You can even add IP address limitation, restrictiveness. Like if someone's trying to log from, I don't know.
India.
Exactly. There you go.
Bangladesh. Insert foreign country here. Russia.
There you go. Wherever in the world,
right,
they won't have the ability to do so. So there's a lot of, you could do sharing rules where the person who's logging in, or most people logging in, don't have access to PII information, and in turn, there for the summer, my mini project doesn't need to know their social security numbers, right?
Right.
So like, I think just be mindful and take simple steps to keep that data secure. And data breaches really scare me. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think a healthy sense of fear is good, right?
Absolutely.
You talk about two-factor authentication. For those that listen who may not know what that is, kind of walk through what a two-factor authentication is.
It's literally, instead of just using your username and password, adding another layer of authentication that the user gets to validate that, okay, this is definitely you. One is you should not be sharing your username and password. So if you're entering your username and password, great, thumbs up. That's the first level. Second level is you have your phone and you're actually marking, yeah, it's me, saying yes, or opening the app, or whatever the process might be. That's two.
Most softwares will like send you a 6-digit text
or
six-digit
enter
code via
that
text, right? Yeah,
exactly. So then it's like they're systematically tying this back to Brian or Sue, and they're like, all right, now we're feeling more secure, enter it in. Some platforms will even have more authentications after that, where you could do SSO, right? Like if you log into one primary
What is SSO?
Single sign-on,
And what does that mean?
you could go in Salesforce, and since you're authenticated there through multi-factor or whatnot, you can now go to other business tech stacks leveraging that username or that authentication. So yeah, I mean, there's other ways to do that you don't jeopardize or expose or create a risk for your data and your firm.
Right. And, you know, there are always contingency plans and backups to say when you change your password, an email is sent to you notifying you that you've changed your password.
Oh, that's
and if
another
that's
one.
not you,
Yeah.
you know, give us a call support, right?
Yeah.
So all of these different tools should be set up within your CRM
Right.
to protect yourself and your client's data.
Oh, yeah.
To be a good steward of client data.
Absolutely. And that was a great point, like password policies, right? That could be managed. Maybe you trigger for the entire firm that their password needs to be updated every 3 months. Every month. I mean, I know that's an overkill, but...
Oh, gosh. Give me the chills just then, just PTSD of creating a new password every 30 days. And please, this is just a hard thing for me because my father was very guilty of this. Right next to his computer was a little small portfolio that he kept all of his username and passwords. Please don't do that. There are so many good password protection softwares that are out there, like 1Password or NordPass or LastPass, any of those. Utilize that on your system so that you remember one username and 1Password, and it keeps all the rest of them for you. Don't be like my dad. Dad, I love you, but gosh, don't do that.
That's my dad too, by the way.
Listen, our fathers, those forefathers, man, they great at what they did, but not great at data privacy, data security. No.
Yeah.
So, Sue, wrapping this up, the advisor of the future, right? Utilizing intelligent CRM solutions. What makes this intelligent CRM a differentiator for an advisor in a heavily saturated marketplace?
I think it gives you a distinct edge, right? Like if you're using a CRM that is just storing your client information, it's doing just that, just storing client information. What an intelligent CRM or database can deliver is provide insights about your clients that add to your value, not just sit flat, right? It's that dynamic sense of knowledge to understand, okay, if this person is here, not only the advisor, but the client, what is the next best step given their goals as well as well-defined goals, and place the strategy plan in front of you.
Right. Yeah, I would add to that to incorporate some of the other things that you said today. Strengthen the relationship. by wishing them a happy birthday, happy anniversary, how was your vacation,
Yeah.
right? Incorporating greater levels of personalization with those messaging and insights into portfolio activity into the same messaging. We've talked about this on another podcast. It's becoming easier for independent advisors to compete with advisors that operate under a larger enterprise model because the technology is becoming cheaper. Do you think that we will see an even leveler, a more level playing field in the future?
So I worked at a credit union years ago, and they were trying to create a platform that was multi-currency. And they must have spent millions of dollars and then put the project aside because it was just complicated to do so. I'm not saying that can be done easily today, but for simpler advisors, technology has enhanced itself so much through compounding effect that for mass majority of us, we're able to, in a small device, gain so much insight if we just prompt it the right way, right? So yeah, technology's become cheaper. It's become more powerful. So to me, there is no reason, literally no reason that's logical, rational, that would prevent a firm or a financial advisor to not invest in the right systems and processes.
So I'll leave the listening audience with this. Two takeaways from today. Number one, if you're worried about data security and risk management, and you want Sue to kind of ask the right questions about your platform to make sure that your data is in a good place, how do they get a hold of you, Sue?
Email me at suecheema@eliteconsultingpartners.com.
And the second takeaway from today, which will be an ask for those of you who are listening on YouTube, or maybe you see a clip of this on LinkedIn or Instagram or anywhere else, comment below on your college football predictions by the end of the year. I want to hear them. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This was a lot of fun. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics relating to the financial services industry, or just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcast.